The mess hall on Outpost Eos buzzed with quiet conversations and the soft hum of machinery. It was not the kind of place one would call cozy, but after 6 months on the edge of space, Lieutenant Marcus Halle had learned to appreciate even the dull lights and recycled air. He sat alone at a corner table, eating his usual meal, a plate of nutrient cubes and a cup of something that claimed to be tea. Around him, members of different species sat together, enjoying the Peace Week celebrations. It had been 2 years since the long war between the United Earth Coalition and the Zalari Dominion had paused. Not ended, just paused. A fragile ceasefire held the galaxy in place like a breath before a storm. Marcus looked up when he heard soft footsteps approaching. It was Araya, the Zalari envoy. She was tall, with silver-blue skin that shimmered like moonlight and eyes that seemed to hold distant stars. Most humans found the Zalari unsettling, graceful, calm, and always watching. "May I sit here?" she asked politely. Marcus nodded. "Sure, free seat, free meal." She gave a faint smile, though it was hard to tell with Zalari expressions. She sat opposite him and studied his plate. "You always eat the same thing," she said. "It's reliable," Marcus replied. "Reliable is good." For a few moments they ate in silence. Around them, other aliens and humans talked, laughed, or argued quietly. An officer nearby dropped his fork and it clattered on the floor. A small group of Zalari diplomats whispered near the far end of the room. Then Araya leaned forward slowly. Her eyes focused directly on his. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "Do I come next?" Marcus froze. His fork stopped halfway to his mouth. "What?" he asked, trying to smile. "Sorry, I don't think I heard you right." "I said," Araya repeated, "do I come next?" She didn't blink. Her voice carried a strange tone, not threatening, but serious. Almost like a challenge or a question with more than one meaning. Marcus cleared his throat. "You mean in the food line? Or something else?" "You humans like to joke," she said. "It's difficult to know when you are serious." "Well, usually I'm not," Marcus replied with a nervous chuckle. "It keeps things interesting." Araya tilted her head slightly. "That is why I asked? Among my people, the question, 'Do I come next?' has deep meaning. It can mean, am I your rival? Am I your follower? Or am I your choice?" Marcus sat back, a little surprised. "That's a lot of meanings for 5 words." She nodded. "Yes, language shapes thought. And your species, your kind is different. You act with emotion, instinct. You are hard to predict. That makes you dangerous and fascinating." Marcus didn't know what to say to that. He stared at his food, then back at Araya. "Why are you telling me this now?" She looked around the room, then leaned closer again. "Because soon everything may change. And you may be the one others follow? Or fight." He frowned. "What do you mean by that?" But Araya only stood up slowly. She placed a small silver data chip on the table. "Think about it," she said. "You may not believe me now, but the galaxy moves quickly. And humans are at its center, whether you know it or not." Before he could ask another question, she turned and walked away, her long coat flowing behind her like a shadow. Marcus stared at the chip for a moment, then picked it up. It had no markings, just a plain, cold surface. He slipped it into his jacket pocket and looked around the room again. Everything looked the same. The lights, the food, the tired faces of officers and diplomats trying to keep peace alive. But Marcus felt something had shifted. That simple question, "Do I come next?" The words echoed again in his mind. "Do I come next?" He didn't know if it was a warning, a test, or something more. But it didn't feel like a normal, diplomatic conversation. It felt personal, strange, important. Marcus finally reached the observation room, a quiet place with a clear glass wall that looked out into space. Stars drifted silently in the black sky. He liked this room. It was the only place on the outpost where everything felt still. "Lieutenant Halle," a voice said behind him. He turned. It was Commander Reyes, his superior officer. She had sharp eyes and a voice that always sounded like it had seen too much war. "You missed the morning briefing." She said, "Sorry, ma'am," Marcus replied. "I needed time to think." She raised an eyebrow. "Thinking's fine, but don't miss another one." This ceasefire is hanging by threads. One wrong move, and the diplomats won't be able to patch it. Marcus nodded, then hesitated. Can I ask something off the record? Reyes crossed her arms. Go ahead. What do you know about the Zalari phrase? Do I come next? Her eyes narrowed. She walked over and looked out the glass window with him. That's not a phrase most humans hear. Why? One of their envoys said it to me, Marcus explained. Araya, during dinner. Reyes was silent for a moment. Then she said, among the Zalari, that phrase has layered meaning. It's often used between rivals, leaders, or visionaries. It can mean challenge, respect, or prophecy. Marcus frowned. Prophecy? There's a group among the Zalari, Reyes said. They call them seers. Not all of them are real, some are frauds. But the true ones? They claim to see possible futures, probabilities, patterns, and outcomes. Their words are studied carefully. Is Araya a seer? Marcus asked. Reyes didn't answer right away. Then she turned and looked him straight in the eyes. There are rumors, but nothing confirmed if she is. Then her words may mean more than you think. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. What does she want with me? He asked. Reyes shook her head. That's what worries me. Later that day, Marcus sat at his desk, staring at the silver data chip. He finally slid it into his console and opened it. A quiet beep, then a screen flickered to life. Lines of text scrolled across the screen. Reports, observations, predictions. Each line started with the same title. Human Variables and Future Conflict Models. The reports were written in the Zalari language, but the system translated them into basic English. As he read, Marcus's eyes widened. The Zalari had been studying humans, not just military tactics or weapons, but behavior. Emotion, reaction to loss, decision-making under pressure. One line stood out. In 73% of models, human unpredictability creates outcomes that favor peace or total collapse. There is little in between. Another, if the chosen human is Marcus Halle, the probability of alliance increases. Risk is high. Potential is higher. He sat back, stunned. They had named him. Marcus didn't consider himself special. He wasn't a top diplomat, a famous hero, or a brilliant strategist. He was just a middle-ranked officer with a quiet post and a love for peaceful routines. Why him? A soft chime broke his thoughts. A new message blinked on his screen. It was a private communication request from Araya. He hesitated, then accepted. Her face appeared on the screen. Calm, steady, and unreadable as always. I see you opened the data, she said. You've been watching me, Marcus replied. Studying me, yes, she answered simply. You are an important piece in a very large puzzle. Why? He asked. I'm not powerful. I don't even make the big decisions. Not yet, Araya said. But you will. Not because of rank or status, but because of the choices you make. You are unpredictable, like most humans, but you also care. That combination is rare. He leaned forward. What do you want from me? Araya looked directly at him. To choose? When the time comes, you will face a moment where logic will fail, and heart will decide the outcome. I want you to understand what that means. The screen flickered, and her image vanished. Marcus sat in silence. The glass window beside him reflected his face. But somehow, he didn't recognize himself anymore. He wasn't just a soldier on a quiet outpost. Now, he was part of something bigger. And something was coming. For the next 2 days, Lieutenant Marcus Halle went about his duties like normal. He attended briefings, checked equipment reports, and walked the long halls of Outpost EOS. But inside, his mind was full of questions. He couldn't stop thinking about Araya's words or the strange report he had read on the data chip. Why would the Zalari study humans so closely? And why would they choose him as someone important? One afternoon, Marcus stood on the outer deck of the station. Araya turned to face him. That's what makes you dangerous. Dangerous? He raised an eyebrow. I thought that made us spontaneous. For my people, Araya said softly, emotion is something we control, carefully, we plan. We calculate, we speak only after deep thought, but humans, you feel something and then you move. You act sometimes without warning. That's not always a good thing, Marcus said. No, she agreed. But sometimes it is the only thing that changes history. There was a pause. Then she added, the Zelari word for it is Varantel. It means beautiful chaos. That is how we see your kind. Marcus looked at her, trying to understand. So you think chaos is beautiful? In small amounts, yes, Araya said. Too much can destroy, but just enough can change the course of fate. Marcus shook his head. I'm not some hero. Araya, I didn't ask to be part of your predictions or your plans. I'm just trying to do my job. Exactly, she said. And that is why you are the right person. Before he could respond, a quiet alarm beeped from his wrist console. Urgent security alert, Sector 4. Marcus tapped the device and opened the report. His face changed. What is it? Araya asked. There's been a breach, Marcus said. No one's supposed to be in that part of the station. Come on. Marcus. And Araya moved quickly through the narrow hallways of the outpost. When they reached Sector 4, they found 2 security guards already there. One of them nodded. At Marcus, we caught someone trying to install an illegal data line, the guard said. Accessing restricted communication systems. Who is it? Marcus asked. The guard stepped aside. On the floor, handcuffed, was a human technician. Named Brenner. Marcus had seen him around, usually fixing panels or checking systems. He didn't look like a spy. Brenner? Marcus asked, confused. What were you doing? The man looked up. His face was pale. You don't understand. They're planning something, both sides. What do you mean? Marcus asked. The peace talks, Brenner said. They're not real. There are people, human and Zelari, who want the war to start again. They think peace is bad for business, or pride, or power. Marcus felt a cold weight settle in his chest. You were trying to send a message? He asked. Brenner nodded. To warn Earth, but I couldn't use normal channels. They're all watched. Marcus looked at Araya. Her face was unreadable. Is this true? He asked her. There are voices in my government, she said carefully, just as there are in yours. Peace frightens those who need war to feel strong. Marcus stared at the blinking light on the control panel. A quiet war was already being fought, not with ships or weapons, but with lies, fear, and secrets. Let him go, Marcus told the guards. But sir, one began. He was trying to stop something worse, Marcus said. Put a tracker on him if you have to. But he's not the enemy. The guards exchanged glances, then obeyed as they walked away. Araya stepped closer to Marcus. You acted quickly, she said. I trusted my gut, Marcus replied. Was that chaos enough for you? She gave a small smile. It was a start. They stood in silence for a while, listening to the hum of the outpost. Then Marcus spoke. If this is true, if there really are people on both sides trying to restart the war, then what do? We show them something they don't expect, Araya said. We act like humans. Marcus looked at her, confused. And what does that mean? She met his eyes. It means, she said, we surprise them. The lights in Outpost EOS flickered for a second, then returned to normal. It was a small thing, barely noticeable, but Lieutenant Marcus Halle noticed. Lately, small things had started to feel like warnings. He walked quickly through the narrow corridors of the station, passing crew members and Zelari diplomats who greeted him with polite nods. The peace talks were set to continue in 2 days. But something felt wrong. Since the incident with Brenner, Marcus hadn't been able to shake the feeling that danger was building silently beneath the surface. He stepped into the security control room, where screens showed every corner of the outpost. Sergeant Luma, a tall woman with sharp eyes and steady hands, greeted him. Any updates? Marcus asked. Luma nodded. We've been scanning internal systems like you asked. Someone's been sending coded messages using hidden channels. Small bursts of data, hard to track. Where are they going? He asked. Yes, Araya replied. And it's almost ready. Marcus looked at her. What do you know? She took a deep breath. I've been listening. Some in the Zelari delegation believe peace is a weakness. They think if we strike now, while humans are still unsure, we can win the war quickly. And, on our side, Marcus added. There are officers who believe peace is a waste of time. They think the Zalari are only stalling to build stronger weapons. Araya nodded slowly. Fear feeds both sides. And there are those who know how to use it. Marcus leaned forward. We need proof, real proof. If we expose them, maybe we can stop this. Araya hesitated. Then she said, There's a secret meeting tonight. Both human and Zalari leaders. They're planning to destroy a civilian supply ship during the peace talks. They want to blame each other. After that, war will be certain. Marcus stood up quickly. Where? In the restricted maintenance bay. Level 6. That night, Marcus moved quietly through the lower levels of Outpost EOS, his footsteps light and careful. Araya followed close behind him, silent like a shadow. They reached Level 6, where only a few lights glowed above the thick pipes and storage crates. They crouched behind a power unit, listening, voices. Once the supply ship explodes, Earth will blame the Zalari. Our people will demand war. No one will question it. We strike while the peacekeepers are still weak. Marcus recognized some of the voices humans he had worked with, officers he had trusted. He glanced at Araya, whose face was calm but serious. He pulled out a small recording device and started recording the conversation. Then, suddenly, a noise. Behind them, a loose panel had shifted under Araya's foot. The talking stopped. Who's there? A voice called. Marcus grabbed Araya's hand. Run! They dashed through the dark hallway, lights flashing as alarms sounded. Footsteps chased them. Vaster rifles hummed to life. But Marcus knew the layout better than anyone. He turned sharp. Corners ducked under beams, and led Araya through a side vent that opened back near the command center, once safe. Marcus handed the recording device to Commander Reyes, who had just entered the room. You need to hear this, he said, breathing hard. She listened. Her face grew pale. These are high-ranking officers, she said quietly. If this goes public. It has to, Marcus said. This is the truth. If we stay silent, war will happen. And millions will die for a lie. Reyes nodded slowly. Then we do it. The next day, a station-wide broadcast was made. Marcus stood beside Araya and Commander Reyes as the recording was played on every screen in every room. The station froze in silence. Gasps, shock, anger. Some people shouted, some cried. Some simply stared at the screen in disbelief. Within hours, arrests began. Both human and Zalari conspirators were taken into custody. Their plans had been exposed. The silent mutiny had failed. That night, the mess hall was quiet again, just like before. Marcus sat at the same table, eating his usual meal. Araya joined him, just like she had that first evening. You made the choice, she said. I didn't feel brave, Marcus replied. I just couldn't ignore it. That's what bravery is, she said softly. They ate in silence for a moment. Then Marcus looked at her. What now? Now, Araya said. They'll watch us, study us, try to understand why we acted. What will they learn? He asked. That humans, she said with a smile, are not predictable. The days after the broadcast were full of silence and whispers across Outpost EOS. Both humans and Zalari walked more carefully. No one knew who to trust. Some officers had been taken away in silence. Others had stepped down on their own. Everyone was watching. Everyone was waiting, but one truth had become clear. Marcus Hale and Araya had stopped something terrible from happening. Still, the peace was fragile. Like a cracked window, one more shock could break it completely. Marcus sat in the strategy room, staring at a digital map of nearby sectors. It was quiet, except for the soft hum of the screens. His fingers tapped the edge of the table, not out of nervousness, but thought. Araya entered the room, her steps light. You asked for me? Yes, Marcus said. I've been thinking, we can't just stop their plan. We have to replace it with something better. She raised an eyebrow. Better than war? Marcus smiled faintly. Better than silence. He stood and pointed to the map. This area here, Sector 9, it's empty space, but near enough to both our home systems, no military value. Just rocks and cold. Araya studied it, so we build something there, Marcus said. Together, a station. A neutral zone. Humans and Zalari working side by side. No weapons. Just knowledge, science, and people. Araya tilted her head. You want to create a symbol? Yes, Marcus said. Something real. Something even the doubters can't ignore. She was quiet for a moment, then she asked, What do you want to call it? He looked at her. Hope's Reach. The next week was full of talks, plans, and arguments. Some leaders on both sides were against the idea. Too soon, they said. Too risky. Others thought it was foolish. Humans and Zalari can't live side by side, they warned. But slowly something changed, one by one. Scientists, builders, engineers, and thinkers raised their voices. Young officers offered to volunteer. Civilians sent messages of support. From Earth and Zalara Prime. It started as a whisper. Then it became a spark that shouldn't have worked, and yet it did. 3 weeks later, Marcus stood on the bridge of a transport ship, looking at Sector 9 through the wide window. Behind him, a small team of human and Zalari engineers were checking equipment. The area was dark, cold, and empty. Perfect. Araya walked up beside him. The first modules are ready. We believe in patterns, she replied. But sometimes a pattern must break for something new to form. Marcus turned back to the window. I never thought I'd be part of something like this. He said, Neither did I, Araya replied. But maybe this is what both our kinds needed, a place not built from fear, but from choice. Back on Outpost EOS, not everyone was happy. Far away from the main deck. In a dark storage room, two figures stood together, speaking in quiet voices. One was human, the other Zalari. Both wore old military uniforms, not official anymore, but still dangerous. They're building a station, one said. We knew they would try something like this. The other replied. What do we do? The human took a deep breath. Wait, let them build. Let the people hope. And then? The Zalari asked. Then we show them how easily hope burns. Back on the new site, the Hope's Reach station began to take shape. Metal beams floated into place. Power systems came. Online rooms were built one by one. People from both sides worked side by side, often with awkward silences at first, but slowly, conversation began, stories were shared, laughter was heard. One day, as Marcus passed through the growing central hub, he saw a young human technician helping a Zalari engineer with a damaged connector. The two smiled and gave each other a thumbs up. He paused and watched for a moment. Araya joined him. It's working. For now, Marcus said. That's all peace ever is, she replied. A moment that needs protecting, Marcus nodded. Then we'll protect it. They stood together in the middle of something that once seemed impossible, and yet it was happening, not with loud speeches or perfect plans, just people working, trying, hoping. The sky above Hope's Reach station was dark and quiet as it had always been. No sun, no moon, just stars and silence. Yet deep inside the new station there was energy, movement, progress. More rooms had been built. The command center was almost finished. Human and Zalari workers moved side by side. They had started sharing not only tools, but stories and food. It felt like something new, something better. But peace has enemies, and peace is fragile. Lieutenant Marcus Halle was going through the latest systems. Report. When the first alert came through, a red light blinked on the edge of his console. Unknown object entering the sector. Fast, he tapped the screen. Araya, he said into his com. We've got a visitor. Already watching? Her voice replied. I'll meet you on the bridge. Marcus stood and walked quickly to the main bridge. It was still small, but had enough systems to track anything moving within the area. The new station didn't have weapons yet. It was meant to be a peaceful project, but not everyone respected that. Araya arrived moments later, calm as always. Her long coat swayed as she walked. What do we have? Single ship, Marcus said, pointing to the screen. No ID. Speed is too fast for a cargo vessel. Could be military, human, or Zalari. He shook his head. Doesn't match. Either. Araya narrowed her eyes. Then it may be one of theirs. They both knew what that meant, those who had opposed peace. Marcus tapped the com again. Alert the crew. Non-combat lockdown. Just in case. Yes, sir, came the reply. The ship arrived within minutes. A sleek black vessel, smaller than a warship, but faster than anything on the station. It didn't ask for docking permission. It forced the doors open. A single figure stepped out, a human man in an old Earth Navy uniform, long out of use. His face was lined with age and anger. Marcus and Araya waited in the main docking hall with a few guards behind them. Captain Dorn, Marcus said, recognizing him. The older man gave a short nod. So you're the one they talk about? The hero of Outpost Iaz. I didn't ask for that name, Marcus replied calmly. Dorn looked around. This place is wrong. You're building a lie. No, Araya said. We are building hope. Dorn's eyes flashed. Hope is weakness. You let your guard down and the enemy takes everything. There is no enemy here, Marcus said. Dorn stepped closer. That's what they want you to think, but war is coming again. And when it does, your little dream will fall like dust. Araya took one step forward. Why are you here? To give you a choice, Dorn said. He held up a small device in his hand. I planted charges in your power core. This whole station will fall unless you leave now and destroy the plans. End this foolish project. Marcus stared at him, heart pounding. You'd kill innocent people for this? They're not innocent, Dorn said. They're blind. And the blind walk others off cliffs. Back in the command center, alarms began to beep. One of the Zalari engineers called out, Sir, internal sensors show thermal spikes in the core, small devices. Too small for us to track with basic scans. Marcus's voice came through the cum. We may have bombs in the power systems. Begin emergency search and shut down procedures. The crew moved quickly. Marcus didn't speak, but Araya did. You fear what you don't control, she said. You fear peace because it doesn't need leaders like you. I fear lies, Dorn replied coldly. Then something happened that no one expected. A young technician, a human barely 20, stepped forward from behind the group. His name was Kalen. He had joined the project just a week ago. I disabled. The last device? He said .dor, and he turned quickly. You what? I saw what you were doing when you arrived, Kalen said. I followed you. I'm not a soldier, but I know engineering. You won't destroy this place. Marcus smiled. Just a little. Dorn's eyes narrowed. You side with aliens now? Kalen stood tall. I side with peace. Without another word, Dorn turned to flee, but the guards moved quickly and stopped him. The crisis was over. For now, hours later, after the last device was confirmed disabled, Marcus stood with Araya in the garden room. The first peaceful space built on Hope's Reach. Small plants from Earth and Zalara grew side by side under artificial sunlight. That boy, Marcus said, he saved us. Araya nodded. 1 spark can stop a fire. Marcus looked at the stars beyond the glass. The sky turned red for a moment, he said. But we're still here. Yes, Araya said, and tomorrow we build more. They stood together in silence. The garden, lights hummed softly. And far above, in the quiet sky, the stars began to shine a little brighter. From above, Hope's Reach station now looked like a shining star in the dark. The construction was nearly complete. It had grown from a few floating parts into a full living structure, a place where humans and Zalari could walk the same halls, share meals, and build a future together. Yet not everyone believed it would last. Some still thought it was a mistake. Some believed it was a trap. But every day that passed without violence made those voices a little quieter. Lieutenant Marcus Halle stood on the new observation deck. Through the wide glass wall he could see stars, ships moving between docking points, and engineers floating in suits as they fixed the final outer panels. A soft sound made him turn. Araya walked in, calm and steady as always, her silver-green eyes reflected the stars outside. We received a message, she said. Marcus raised an eyebrow. From where? Earth and Zalara Prime, she replied. Joint message, for us. He frowned. Us? She handed him a small data pad. He tapped it. The message was short. To LT. Marcus Halle and Araya of Zalara, we recognize your work, but advise caution. You do not speak for your people. Return home and allow official delegates to take over Hope's Reach. Marcus lowered the pad. His face was unreadable. "So they want to take it from us," he said. "Yes," Araya replied. "They think we've done enough. Now they want control." He gave a quiet laugh. "We were never supposed to matter," she nodded. "Yet here we are." Later that day, Marcus called a meeting in the main hall. Humans and Zalari stood together. Engineers, scientists, diplomats, even the younger workers like Kalen, who had helped stop the attack, were present. Marcus stepped to the center. "We've received orders," he said clearly. "They want us to hand this station over. Leave it in the hands of those who had nothing to do with building it." There was murmuring in the room. A few heads shook. A few arms crossed. Marcus continued. "They don't trust us. Because we were never meant to lead. We weren't chosen. We were just people who happened to be here, who happened to care." He looked at Araya, who stepped forward. "We are not leaders by rank," she said, "but we are leaders by action. This station stands not because of politics, but because we refuse to give up." Kalen raised his hand. "What happens if we don't leave?" Marcus looked around the room. "That depends on us." Silence. Then a voice from the backcellery technician Nara spoke. "I will stay. I trust those who built this place, not those who tried to stop it." Another voice, a human engineer. "Same here." One by one, people spoke. They had decided. A reply was sent to Earth, and Zalara primed us simple words. "We are not rebels. We are builders of peace. If you wish to lead, come and live here first. Work beside us. Then speak." In the days that followed, visitors began to arrive. Not soldiers, not rulers, but curious minds. Young scientists, artists, teachers, people who had heard stories of Hope's reach and wanted to see if it was real. They came from both worlds, from different backgrounds, from different beliefs, and what they found was not perfect, but it was real. In the dining area, humans and Zalari now sat in mixed groups. In the garden room, people brought seeds from both planets to plant together. In the learning wing, children from both species began classes taught by both human and Zalari teachers. The station became more than a structure. It became a home. One evening, Marcus sat in the same corner of the mess hall where it all began. His tray had the same meal, simple rations, warm tea. Some things hadn't changed. Araya joined him, just like before. He smiled. "Feels familiar." "It began here," she said softly. He nodded. "You know, that day you leaned in and asked, 'Do I come next?' I thought you were just curious." "I was," she said. "But not just about dinner," Marcus laughed gently. "You started this with a question, and somehow it led us here." She looked at him. "It was never just about peace talks. It was about understanding. That's how peace truly begins." He looked around the hall, humans laughing with Zalari, new friendships forming. Old fears fading. He nodded slowly. "Then maybe we do matter." Araya reached for her tea. "We always did. We just had to prove it." And far beyond the stars, stories began to spread. Stories of a place where two enemies once met across a table and chose something else, not because they were told, not because they had orders, but because they chose to.